Hello everybody. Lacey here, coming live because I had to share a little bit of what's going on, and I figured the easiest way to do that is to just come here on my page live, because I did this about 6 months ago where I shared a lot with you guys, and I figured this would probably be the easiest way to do it. So if you're popping on, give me a like, say hello so I know who's here. Just so I know who's watching. My heart is racing like crazy, you guys, just so you know. This topic just freaks me out anyway. It's an emotional one. Thanks, guys. Hi, Abby. Hi, Mom. Hi, Val. Yeah, just feel free to comment or ask any questions that you might have. Hi, Sigrid. Anything that you might have during the process. Hey, girl. Okay, so I'm able to see you guys, so that's good. Sometimes the Wi-Fi is kind of sketchy, so. Okay, so I had to come live just to kind of share an update, and because I have a lot of newer friends who are not sure of what's been going on. The other day I started sharing about how I was going to the doctor and was going in for this MRI and all this stuff. Holy cow, my heart raced. So I was going in for this MRI, and some people don't know my story. So before I dig into just what I've learned over the last couple of days and why I completely kind of stayed away from social media yesterday to work through a lot of stuff. But those of you who are just getting to know me, 6 months ago, around end of December-ish, around then, stemming back from last summer, I was getting symptoms of numbness in my legs. I was working out, and I was doing squats, and one of my legs was going numb, and I just was like, what the heck, this is weird, this is not normal. And I thought, I started going into some groups. I'm like, what happens when your legs start going numb? This is weird. And they said, maybe you have a pinched nerve or something, go get adjusted. Never been to a chiropractor before. I preface this, I'm one of the healthiest people. I've never had any health issues previously. So I've been super healthy up until this last 6 months. So I went in, I got adjusted, and we found out there's I had some crooked stuff going on in my spine, but the more I got adjusted, the numbness goes away in my legs, but then it shifted to my arms and then into my fingers. So I was getting these tingly sensations, and I thought, well, something got wonky in my neck in the process of this. So I started looking at all these outside things. What could it be wrong? And these symptoms weren't going away. So I went to a physical therapist, and so he started manipulating my neck and having me do some stretches and thinking, okay, maybe there's just something off in your spine. And it was him who told me, you might want to go and see your doctor and go and get an MRI. He's like, don't want to freak you out or anything, but some of these symptoms are symptoms of MS. And MS is multiple sclerosis. So I instantly, the moment he told me that, I went home and I bawled my face off. It was just hearing that. I've heard of it. I've known some people that were diagnosed with it, but I didn't know really what that meant. So I instantly started going to Dr. Google, and I started self-diagnosing and freaking out. And I go in for an MRI, which was terrifying to me because I'd never had one before. And those of you that have been following me from back then know how scary that was for me. It was extremely scary. And the whole unknown of everything. And when my doctor saw me, she said, oh, maybe it's carpal tunnel that's causing this numbness, but there could be some kind of chance this is a sign of MS. So she was the second one that told me this. So it was scary going into these couple of scans, not knowing what they were going to find. And then a week later, 3 days, it was over the weekend. They made me hang over the weekend. And that Monday, I think after that Friday I had the scan, they called me and said, yeah, these are signs that you have a degenerative disease. You have multiple sclerosis is the signs they're pointing at, but the doctor wants to get more scans. So I was just floored by them telling me that over the phone. I was so upset. And I saw another doctor, went over the scans, and they said, yep, you've got a lesion on your C1, C2, something like that. So I have this little lesion in my neck is the first thing that they saw when they did my cervical spine. And they saw some just scant little spots in my brain. They said that could be migraine related, or it could also relate to MS. So I'm like, oh, fantastic. And they said, but if you want another opinion, here you go. There's a great doctor in Fargo, North Dakota, which I've lived there before. Hi, Kayla. Hi, Crystal. So I took the advice and I said, well, I can't just settle with one person's opinion on what's going on. So he said, this doctor, she's a neuro, she's great. She's got a physician's assistant she works with. They're fantastic. So I'm like, okay, I want to see somebody good that can shoot me straight and tell me what I'm looking at. Give it to me so I can deal with this. So I went to her and she said, yep, this is what it is. And I started doing a lot of research before I went to see her, and I'm just like, instantly you think it's a death sentence. You think you get diagnosed with a disease, it's a death sentence. Like you imagine people, there's people that have a progressive version of this who are progressively getting worse or who really struggle with it. There's so many cases in the spectrum of things. And instantly I went to the worst space. I went to the worst space because I'm afraid. It is, oh, this is hard, you guys, because it still makes me emotional, even though I'm okay. I'll shoot you straight. I'm like, I'm okay right now. Emotionally, I have days, okay? Anyway, digress here. I asked her, talking to him, I'm like, is it specific? Do I have to get on drugs? I've never been on drugs for any reason other than maybe like strep throat when I was a kid, right? And after looking around and doing some research, I said, well, can nutrition play a part of this at all? Before I even got my sentence out, she said, no. Nope, has no relation. I fired her instantly in my head. I walked out of there and I said, Dan, I can't even talk to her anymore because she won't hear me out. She won't listen to what I have to say. She wants to treat me just with drugs. And I understand that there are a lot of cases where drug helps and is necessary. For me, right now, my gut says no. My gut says, I am feeling so good right now. This is not for me right now. Either that or I'm just, scared shitless, thinking about medication and what it could possibly do to me. So I wanted to seek out other options, and I got connected with her PA, and he's been great and really helpful, and he's been very open to listening to me. And when I started talking to other people that have it, I got tapped into a community of people who have MS and who are working through it naturally, who are talking to or seeing a naturopath, a functional doctor, to kind of get to the root of the problems, to get to the root of what causes inflammation in our bodies, what triggers all this kind of stuff, instead of, just going right to drugs. And I told him when I met with him, he started sharing options with me about drugs, and I said, can I think about it? I'm just not ready to go down that hole right now. I'm scared. Talking to other people about certain medications and certain side effects that they've had. I know every case is different and everybody has different experiences and everybody's bodies are different and react to things differently. But there's a fear of how it's going to make me feel and how it's going to alter my way of life, my quality of life. And one of the options he shared with me was injections 3 times a week with a few different kinds of drugs. And to be honest, I don't want to shoot myself in the side or wherever I got to shoot myself with a needle 3 times a week. And it terrified me. So I said, can I just think about this? Do I have to make this choice right now? And he said, no. And I said, I've been researching this book and this other doctor who wrote a book. Her name is Terry Walls, for those of you who may or may not be familiar with her or her book, but she wrote a book called The Walls Protocol. And it's a book that gears towards nutrition to heal autoimmune disease, specifically MS, because she was diagnosed with MS. And she has a progressive form of it. So her health was deteriorating and declining, and she went through a process of so many different treatments, so many different drugs, seeing the best doctors, and she decided to go ahead and research nutrition and test it out on herself. And she went paleo and removed a lot of things in for her diet, and then she reconfigured her nutrition to heal her body, and specifically foods that were going to heal her brain cells. And so she started getting better. Within like 3, 6, 9 months to a year, she went from being in a gravity-free chair to riding 18 miles on her bike. So there's something to be said there from a doctor that went that route. And I joined a community of people that are sharing their experiences and their successes following this doctor and her protocols and her nutrition. And I thought, this has got to be something I got to try. Okay, so I told him that, and he was familiar with it. And he said, yeah, that's a really tough one to follow. And I said, well, I am kind of at that baseline already, the beginning level of her protocol. I kind of follow that already because I'm a health and fitness coach. Because of the last 6 years of my personal health and fitness journey, I've learned a thing or two about nutrition, and I've been able to share that, and I've been able to implement things and change things out that are working for me. So I told him, I said, it's really not going to be that hard for me because of where I'm at already. And he said, okay. He said, we'll give this a shot for a year and see what happens. And so I said, okay. I left there feeling really confident. So he gave me 6 months, and he said, we're going to give you another MRI, which leads us up to this weekend or this Friday. And he said, I want to monitor you more closely. And I said, okay. So over the last, since the diagnosis, I decided, I'm just going to be a little bit more strict. Maybe I've had a few slip ups here and there, but no gluten, no dairy. And I can tell when I have let it slip in, I get numb and tingly. Okay, so in the 6 months, you guys, if you've been following me, there have been a lot of crap that's happened since like November, October, when I got this diagnosis. So they say stress can really play a part of this too, in how your MS flares come about and everything like that. And I feel like when I started getting these symptoms, I was in a really bad flare. And it started with a lot of stress. My husband, who most of you know, is a police officer, and he was doing a lot of work overtime where I didn't see him when he was a part of the Dakota Access Pipeline stuff. He did a lot of work with that, and it was scary. It was an incredibly scary time for us. And during that time was when I got this diagnosis. And I went through 3 days of a injection, steroid injection, to try and get myself feeling better. He wasn't around for that. I didn't really know what to expect, and I went through hell for 3 days. It was more like a week after that, feeling the effects of this, and it was scary. So that was stressful for me, a very stressful time. And over the course of that, it took a while for that to end, and then we lost our puppy, and we lost my sister-in-law this winter, and there was a lot of emotions that have been going on the last 6 months, and stress, and I feel like that put a lot on my body and a lot on me, on my health. And so while I was feeling good, okay, we'll get to the good stuff, but I've been feeling great, right? There was just a period in January where I was pretty fatigued. I had some days where I couldn't get out of bed. People have so many different symptoms of this. One of them for me was I couldn't get out of bed. I was so tired. It didn't matter how much I worked out or just took it easy and did yoga or ate really good, got enough sleep. It didn't matter. I was so fatigued to the point I had to take a nap like every couple hours. And that was hard because I've never gone through anything like that. So adjusting to just slowing down and listening to my body and resting the best that I could, I did what I had to do. And leading up to today now, I go into this appointment scared, worried, I have to do this dumb scan again that I hate. And the not knowing, it's the biggest fear of unknown because this is still so new to me. Right? And I'm still learning. I'm still researching things. So I go in, Dan wasn't with me, my kid wasn't with me, so I'm all by myself, and it just gave me peace of mind knowing that they were there for me the last time. But I go in and I meet with him, and I'm feeling really confident, really good. And he sits down and he's like, "How are you feeling?" And I'm like, "I feel great. I can shower with hot water." For a while, another symptom, guys, I couldn't even take a lukewarm shower without my body going super tingly. Like, I would lose sensation in my arms and my whole backside. I'm getting notifications here, sorry. I would get numbness in my arms and my whole backside when I would take just a warm shower. I was so scared that I was never going to be able to take a hot shower or hot bath again. And that's like one of my releases, is taking a hot bath. So over time that went away, and I'm like, this is good. I'm healing. I'm doing something right, because these things are going away. So he says, "How are you feeling?" I'm like, "Yes, I can take hot showers. I can take hot baths, all this stuff." And he said, "Well, let's look at your scans." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm ready for this." And he pulls up, first he shows me my cervical spine. And one thing that was good to see, and I don't know if that was a variation of scans, being one was done in Bismarck, one was done in Fargo, but the lesion appeared a little more faint, like it was healing, like it was, didn't show up active. Like, I did a pre-contrast and a post-contrast scan, and it didn't show up bright, and it showed up lighter. So that was a good sign. And I think maybe that has something to say about no numbness that I'm having. So then when he pulled up my brain scan, there was a change to my brain. And apparently this disease wants to attack my brain. So and I know this is kind of, sorry. I know it's kind of normal. He said it's normal for you to have 2 to 3 new lesions a year on average. So I have a new lesion on my brain, in my right frontal brain, that's about 9 centimeters, and it's active right now, which is kind of nerve-wracking, because the other ones that he took pictures of last time, when he showed me the pre-contrast and then the other one, he said if it was active it would show up bright white, really bright white, and none of those showed up bright, so that meant I had no active lesions. But this one, it was ugly. And this is so new to me, it's scary, because I have this new spot on my brain that's not going to go away. It's just going to be there, and hopefully it will go away, it will heal. It's really scary seeing this kind of stuff show up when you think that you're doing everything right, when you're taking care of yourself the best that you possibly can, and it's defeating when this kind of stuff happens, because it doesn't matter how healthy you are, and you think that you're doing everything right, things can go sour fast, and things can turn, and this is really an unpredictable disease, what I'm learning, and I just have to kind of keep rolling with the punches. And the first thing he told me when he showed me the scans is he said, "You need to get on drug. You need to get on drug." And going into this appointment feeling really good, I'm like, I'm not even gonna have to have this conversation with you. And that's the first thing that came out of his mouth. And he starts talking about injections again. Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, Abby. So I wasn't prepared for him to tell me this. I wasn't prepared to have this conversation. And I just told him again, I kind of hemmed and hawed, and I said, "You know how I feel about this?" I said, I feel really good. So what, so there's a change in my scan, right? The community that I'm a part of, and Dr. Walls herself has even said, you could have a lot of new lesions, you could have a lot of changes on your scans, but it's about how you're feeling, and how you're taking care of yourself and how good you feel. And as scary as it is to try and heal yourself from the inside and figure out what is causing inflammation, and then going against what the doctor's saying, but the doctor is also the one who's more educated on treatments with medications more than he is on treating through a more natural way. So it's scary when you're saying no to your doctor over something that you really don't know a whole lot about yet, and you're just basing it on research. So to be straight up, I'm scared. And it's okay to feel emotional and scared when it comes to stuff like this, but I feel like I still have a lot of learning to do and a lot of researching to do. I told him, I'm not ready to give you an answer on the drug thing. And he said, well, you're coming back at the end of July and we're going to talk about it. You need to tell me to my face that you don't want to do these drugs. And then we'll have to give you another MRI at the end of the year. So I told him, I said, give me your information on drugs and I will look them up and I will contemplate everything. I will talk to my family. I'll talk to my husband and then I'll go from there. But I felt, I don't know, I felt really, he made me feel scared. And I don't like that feeling. I don't like being put in that position where I'm afraid. Because I'm a really strong person. I like to pride myself in being so strong, and I share unapologetically things that I'm going through, but here I am, a bawling mess in front of you guys right now, and that's okay. But it's something I'm going through, and I feel like right now God is putting me in this position. He's putting me in this shoes. He's putting this wall in front of me right now because there's something on the other side of it. I'm being tested with my health and my emotions, but I'm feeling today, after getting everything out of my system yesterday, that there's something on the other side of this, that I have this decision to make for a reason, and I just have to trust and know that in my gut and my heart that everything's going to be okay. I'm going to find the right solution. It may take a little time, but I don't need to say yes right now to what he wants me to do. It's more about what I want to do. And you got to go with your gut, you guys. You got to learn. You have to get in tune with your body and what it needs and what's best for you. You know, and don't just, you just got to keep looking into things, and you have to keep trying things. If something doesn't work, you just have to keep going, and don't be hard on yourself if it doesn't work. So this is my journey, you guys, and I'm sharing this with you, and I'm going to keep pushing forward with this. And I decided as of this weekend, I'm following this new protocol. Well, not new protocol, because I've been kind of following it. I'm going to follow this to a T for the next several months, so the rest of the year. But there's 3 levels to this program. I've been following the first one, and I'm going to step it up and follow the 3rd level of this Walls protocol. If you want to research it and learn more about it, feel free to learn about it. I will be sharing recipes and what I'm learning along the way myself, because it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge for me, because it's a specific way of eating. And it's to fuel your cells in your brain, to help your mitochondria. It's so scientific, you guys. I still learn about this stuff. The mitochondria, the health of your brain cells, to help things function really well. So I'm learning as I go about nutrition. I'm researching a naturopath. I'm going to research a functional doctor so that I can maybe find out what else is going on. So I can get to the root of where inflammation is caused and what's triggering these symptoms. So this is my journey, you guys, and I just want to express my gratitude for those of you who send such positive messages and encouragement and love and support, because it means the world to me. I battle these kind of emotions from time to time behind the scenes, because this is a scary new thing for me. And I know there's other people that are going to be diagnosed with something like this. They're going to go through something really hard like this, but it's not the end of the world. You can overcome, and you can find
find the way and find good health and just be strong. Be as strong as you possibly can. It's hard sometimes in the moment, but strength and my faith in God and what's going to happen is what I have to rest on, because at the end of the day, that's what keeps me here. That's what keeps me going, is my faith and knowing that everything's going to be okay, and the support that I have around me is absolutely incredible. Do you expect new or different symptoms with a new lesion location? When you have a lesion, when it hits a different spot of your brain, this is one of the things that he tried scaring me with, is he said, well, if you don't get on drug, what happens if it hits a really sensitive part of your brain? He's like, you're lucky this one isn't on a sensitive part of your brain. It affects some kind of thinking or cognitive, I don't know, some stuff. But it's not going to affect me, so much. But what happens if it hits a sensitive spot that could trigger me to lose 50% of my vision? That could trigger me to not be able to walk. That's the scary part of this, is you don't know where they're going to pop up, and you don't know what's going to happen, what kind of symptoms it's going to trigger. There's a lot of people that are in a lot of pain, that have difficulty with balance issues. I feel very, very blessed and grateful that I don't have those kind of issues, and I'm going to knock on wood that it's not going to happen. And I'm just going to pray on it every day that I don't get that severe. And, I mean, the extent of it that I'm dealing with is numbness and tingling. But if it were to hit a sensitive spot of your brain, and depending on my health condition, it could trigger something more severe. I don't really want to think about it because that kind of stuff is really scary, because this is an unpredictable disease, and it's something, it's going to be my BFF for life. It's going to be my education for life, to learn about this, to understand it, to share what I learn about it, to educate other people and bring more awareness to it as I go on this journey and learn. So I just want to thank you guys all. Thank you guys who popped on. I will probably go back. I saw some messages, so I'll go back, and if anybody had questions, I'll reply. But thank you guys for your caring and your support, and just being there. This is a journey, and I appreciate you guys listening and being a part of this with me. I know there's going to be more to come, and I have a really long thought process to go through the next few months to decide what I want to do and how I'm going to tell the doctor if I decide not to do medication, and to deal with kind of the kickback from him on that. But this is my life. It's my health. I have to be proactive. I have to own it and own my decision on it. Thanks, Amy. So yeah, it's just a process of figuring it out, and I will keep you guys informed as I go along. As this kind of stuff happens and any changes that I have, I'm going to let you guys know. But thank you guys. Love you all, and we'll talk to y'all later.